Good afternoon, everyone. My name is JD Hotney here with Jared Down. We're Double J Sports. The Prairie AAA show is at the Western Regionals in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Before we get going into talking about the tournament, Jared, how you feeling, buddy?
I'm pumped to be back. We were at this in Warman last year, saw some great hockey. It's got some good teams at this tournament once again. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, and honestly, it feels like yesterday that we were up in Warman, and what a finish that was. Saskatoon Blazers were the West Regional champions, taking down the host Warman Wildcats in overtime 4-3, a game that they were down 3-0, and they were able to come back and force overtime. So I'm hoping to see some similar theatrics here at this tournament, and the 4-team tournament gets going in less than 2 hours, in about an hour and a half. Game one between the Saskatoon Blazers and the Brandon Wheat Kings, Saskatoon being the champion of the Saskatchewan Male U18 AAA Hockey League, and then Manitoba was the winner of the Manitoba U18 AAA Hockey League. Winnipeg Wild and Thunder Bay, they will be later tonight. Opening ceremonies. It's gonna be a good day. It's gonna be a busy day. But I know we're looking forward to it. So, Jared, let's dive into our first matchup of this tournament, Saskatoon and Brandon. How you feeling? These are two really good hockey teams.
Well, there's no better way to start this tournament than the Brandon Wheat Kings, which has been kind of the talk of AAA hockey across Western Canada this season. They've lost one game all year. That came in overtime. It was a 52-0-1-0 on the year. Anytime you put up a record like that, you're going to have a target on your back. But that means they've had no days off. They've shown up on every game, pulled out the W, and Saskatoon's going to be in tough after a quick series, a little unexpected quick series against Regina. We thought maybe that would go a little farther than 5 games, but we'll get into that when Troy Walkington steps in later on. But Brandon's a good team. They got Jackson Jacobson. Everyone's heard that name. And then on the other end, Saskatoon Blazers, Dane Boyker, another hot commodity in the AAA world. So it's going to be some good hockey.
And you know what? In my personal opinion, those that are watching could correct me, but Jackson Jacobson, Dane Boyker, the best 15-year-old first years, I want to say, playing U18 AAA,
yeah.
I want to say across Western Canada. I can't speak for those out east or in Atlantic Canada, but I can say that watching Dane Boyker, at least 4 times this year, he is something special. And Jackson Jacobson, obviously, he's a hot commodity, as you mentioned. He got drafted by the Brandon Wheat Kings last summer. He's already picked up, a handful of goals so far in his appearances with the Wheat Kings. Scored 2 in his WHL debut as a 14-year-old, and they were not, greasy, goals in front of the net. They were very nice shots. And you know what? It's going to be exciting for us. It's going to be exciting for the fans coming in to take in this event. Be able to watch Dane Boyker and Jackson Jacobson go head-to-head in Game 1. What a way to start. I imagine a lot of people probably circled this game on the calendar when the schedule came out.
Yeah, and not often in these tournaments you see this big of caliber right off the get-go. You see World Juniors, you see the big names towards the end of the tournament, but getting it out right away, which, you got to play every team once anyway, so get her out, get her done. But, we name those few players there. There's a lot more good talent down the lineup. Who else are you looking for?
Obviously, I want to say Jackson Jacobson's wingman. Brady Turco, another Brandon Wheat Kings draft pick. He's a year older than Jackson, but he's a really good player. I'm excited. This is for Brandon, of course. Excited to see, on the back end, guys like Nolan Saunderson, Owen Wallace, Kason Fisher, Colton Worthington. 14 points in 9 games in the playoffs. And then going down, looking to see how their goaltenders. They got 2 really good goaltenders in Burke Hood and Matthew Michta. Both undefeated. Brandon went undefeated 9-0 in the playoffs. And then on the other side, they got Saskatoon, a lot of really good talent. And we talked about Dane Boyker, but we cannot not bring up the fact that Grayson Malinowski has been an absolute force in the back end in net for them since returning from Saskatoon after Christmas. I know in that final series, he faced 90-plus shots in 2 games, and he let in, 4 goals.
He's been kind of a diamond in the rough that the Saskatoon Blazers found. We were talking with Troy Walkington off air yesterday, and he said, he wasn't even supposed to be on the team technically last year. They had an injury. They got Garrett back unexpectedly. He came up, played strong. Eric Hale went to Weyburn last year, so Malinowski undrafted by the Dub. He signed at Seattle last year, or might have been this summer, but he got a few games in Seattle, played tremendous there, and he has been absolutely dynamite for them this season. One of the top goaltenders in the Saskatchewan AAA League.
And you know what? Someone no better to talk about the Saskatoon Blazers than their head coach, Troy Walkington. We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to be right back, and we're going to speak with Troy as he gets set up for Game 1 between Brandon. Hey everyone, JD Houghton and Jared Down, Double J Sports back here with their pre-day show, day 1 of the West Regional Tournament, here with Troy Walkington from the head coach of the Saskatoon Blazers. Troy, second consecutive appearance here at the Western Regionals, and probably I can imagine you and the team looking forward to this event.
Absolutely. This is one of your goals, certainly at the start of the season, to get to this spot, and we find ourselves very fortunate and privileged to be here right now.
Talk about the experience of being here last year, knowing what you've gone through, and how much that has an impact on being back this year.
Well, a couple things is I think that it's different than it was last year. It was in Saskatchewan last year. We were able to get set up in Warman on the Monday before the tournament and skate out there, and it was almost like a home tournament for us. Where this is a little bit different, where we are traveling into somewhere where the players aren't used to playing, and it's a little bit longer trip for us. We don't have very many trips this long in Saskatchewan. So from that point of view, I think it's a little bit different. But the tournament itself, from an experience point of view, we're going to lean heavily on those 7 guys that participated last year. And for us, again, last year, we were able to bring our APs out. So whether it be Missouri, de Gagne, Granberg, Cabrud, Wilkie, some of those Christian LaSalle, some of those kids were able to come out and practice with us in Warman and sort of get the feel of the tournament, and that'll certainly, from an experience point of view, in my mind, help us.
And you mentioned that coming here, it's a little bit of a longer road trip, and I know you guys came out on Tuesday. It's just, I would imagine, just to give the guys one extra day of practice and time settling here in Brandon or in Winnipeg.
Yeah, I think it's real difficult to come in the day before the tournament after spending almost 9 hours on the bus, and there is a time change here, and I know it's just an hour, but it's still a time change, and so for us to travel in and attempt to practice the day before, we worked real hard for 7 months, and why wouldn't we come an extra day? Just to make sure from a preparation point of view that we're ready to play.
How would you compare this team to last year's team? Obviously, you got a lot of returning players. Every group, obviously, you have a strong group again. You won the championship again in Saskatchewan. But how would you compare your team this year to last year?
I don't think there's really a comparison. I think that every team is different in its own right, and that's certainly the case with us. I think I think our defense is a little bit younger than it was last year. Malinowski, he had an opportunity to watch a lot of the playoffs. He was outstanding in the regular season last year, but and he knew full well after nationals last year and participating in the bronze medal game that this was going to be his year. So he's been outstanding for us. And from a forward group, I actually think we're deeper this year than we were last year. Maybe we're not as dynamic as what we were last year, but I certainly think that we're a deeper team than we were last year.
Oh crap! I can't. Oh, come on.
That's okay.
There we go. We're back. Sorry for that, folks. Talk about the Pat C series. We kind of already compared the teams between you guys last year, but talk about your path here in the league championship?
I think we had a real difficult path. That's right from the start of the playoffs. Estevan, they're a real difficult opponent for us, and at the end of the year, there were some teams that we knew our first round opponent, whoever it might be. I think there were a couple different scenarios. We knew we were going to be challenged in the first round, and I thought Estevan played us real heavy. Tisdale, we ran into some injury problems against Estevan and Tisdale. Their one line was real good, and I thought their depth worked real hard. And obviously Dunn was outstanding. So Tisdale was a difficult series for us, and Pat Canadians, I obviously thought that it was going to go for 5 games. They're deep. They're a little bit older. They play, perhaps a little bit heavier than we play, certainly. And obviously they have the best goalie in the league from a statistical point of view and from the way the league awards went out. So we knew that they were going to be a good team, and we were fortunate. I think in my mind we were fortunate to sweep.
Troy, again, it's good to see you. Here at this tournament, we're here covering. I want to talk. You guys are the first game of this tournament playing against the Brandon Wheat Kings, who went 52-0-1 this season. Just kind of talk about the preparation. What can you expect this game to be here tonight?
Well, I think first off, to go undefeated in a season in regulation to me is unbelievable. And it happened with 2 teams this year. It happened with the University of New Brunswick, who went undefeated in their league, which again is an amazing feat. And to have kids that are 15, 16, and 17 and not have them take a day off, I think is absolutely phenomenal. So, from a coach's point of view, obviously they're going to be well prepared. I think that when you look at the depth of their team, if you just look at the numbers, they match up better than any team in the country from a numbers point of view when you look at forwards 1 through 12 and defensemen 1 through 6 and their goaltending. So, are we prepared? We think that we are, but until the puck is actually dropped and until you I think it's probably the first time for both teams that they're playing a team from outside their own province this year. So, for us, it's a challenge. We think we're prepared, but until the puck is dropped and the game is played, who really knows?
Well, I can imagine, Troy, that this, once the schedule came out, this was a game that a lot of people circled. The comparison of Dane Boyker going up against Jackson Jacobson, and in our opinion, I think this is going to be one heck of a game. I don't know what. Honestly, I can't determine an outcome. No one can at this point. I think both teams have really good goalies, have a lot of scoring, and I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Well, I don't know if it's Boyker versus Jacobson or not. In my mind, that's not the matchup that we want. And again, we don't have last change today, so they will be able to match up whoever they want. That's not the matchup that we think is strongest for our team. I'm more concerned from a defenseman point of view, who's on the ice versus that line, because I don't think it's just Jacobson. I think that Turco, Ojit, I think they're both really good players and they've been really productive. But again, their depth is outstanding. So it's more our defensemen and our goaltenders versus their forward group than one person versus one person.
All right, Troy. Well, we are getting closer to puck drop here. We'll let you get back to your team here. I want to thank you for jumping on the show today, and I'm sure we'll talk lots more this tournament.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Again, Troy, congratulations on another league championship and your second consecutive Western regional appearance, and good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
All right, sorry about that, folks. Bit technical difficulties, but
hey, it's our first show, Jared. It's our first.
Working
show.
out the kinks here,
Yes.
making sure the committee's
Yes.
happy here at the Western Regionals. But We had Troy Walkington, head coach of the Saskatoon Blazers. We are not too far away from puck drop in game one. But JD, anything else you want to touch out on the first game of today?
No, you know what, and I think Troy hit the nail on the head here. I know a lot of people are looking at Jackson Jacobson, Dane Wicker matchup comparison, but I think, like he said, for on their standpoint, it's going to be a comparison on their defensive and goaltending end of it. Like Grayson Malinowski has been great for him this season. They got a really good, 3D pairings with Dayton Deschamps, Emerson Clark, Greg Rivard, Jake Mazura, second round Red Deer Rebels draft pick, Eric Granberg, Willie DeGagne, first year defenseman, Braden Smith, who I think led the league in points and assists as a defenseman, or was right up there. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that this is going to be a really, really, really good game. And, Brandon, just hats off to them. 52-0-1.
And they finally did it after having dominant regular seasons the last several years and not being able to get by the Winnipeg Wild. They do it this year in the finals. They had their ticket booked regardless of the outcome of the finals, but they did it anyways. They swept them, winning game 3 in overtime. It's a good team. It's a lot different than past Brandon teams, obviously, 52-0-1, but looking forward to this one, seeing the comparison between the leagues, and, it's just one game out of many great ones this weekend.
Well, you know what, Jared? Another thing before we get any further and touch on Thunder Bay and the Winnipeg Wild, I just wanted to say, I know Jared feels the same. We just want to say a big thank you to the organizing committee of this West Regional tournament here in Winnipeg, because for giving us the opportunity to come out. We did a smaller role last year in Warman, and I know some of the Winnipeg Wild parents did know who we were and saw what we did, and we just want to say thank you, because to us this means a lot. You guys allowing us to come out here, welcoming us in, letting us do our show, interviews, some play-by-play here this weekend, and we at Double J Sports just want to say thank you, because this means a lot for us, for our company, and obviously the number one goal that we have is promoting these kids. It's the reason why we started. One of the reasons why we started Double J Sports is, primarily to cover U18 AAA hockey, because it's underrepresented. It's under, I want to say, there's not as much people talking about it. Like, we have our Prairie AAA show every week. We're from Saskatchewan, so we're heavily involved in that league as well. So for us to be here, we really appreciate it. So if you guys are watching, we just want to say a big thank you to everybody within the organizing committee. You guys have put on a great event. It's going to be a fun weekend, and I know we're really excited.
Yeah, and you hit it all there, JD. Thanks for saying that. But yeah, let's get on to game 2 today. Later on today, 8 p.m. local time. Thunder Bay Kings make their return for, I want to say, several years now. They've been the front runners out of the Northern Ontario, pardon me, and the Winnipeg Wild. Here last year, they've made lots of appearances in this tournament. Haven't been able to get through to the national championship yet, but they have several returning players. A bit of a younger team from what we've heard in the past from the Winnipeg Wild. But what are your thoughts on game number 2 today?
One guy in particular that I want to point out that I think that we got to see, he only got one game, he only appeared in one game, was Jacob Armstrong. Jacob Armstrong for them has been an absolute rock in that back end. That, to see his growth and development. He's a tall goaltender. He was drafted in 2022 to the Winkler Flyers, and you know what? He 6-5-1 in the playoffs. Going into that series against Brandon, he was 6-3 going into that one, and has a 2.32 goals against average and a 926 save percentage. I'm excited to see his development from 1 year, because he played good in that game. It was just a tough draw, losing their final game there against Thunder Bay. But this team, they started off really sluggish. I think probably were trying to find their way in this year, and they were able to come back and lock up the 3rd seed. Took down Interlake in a thrilling game 5. I think they won 2-1 in that game, and then took down the Thrashers, and then lost to Brandon, of course. But they lost game 3 in overtime. I believe it was 4-3 or 5-4. So they know that they can play against them, and I know that they want probably a little bit of revenge.
Well, I think even not even only a revenge, but they probably want to hand Brandon that first regulation loss. Another loss would be great in general, but they just want to, get the king. The Kings have been the king of the double league all year. Pardon the pun, but it's they also kind of want to rewrite what happened last year for those that are returning. They want to at least get one win, hopefully get into that final. Anything can happen. It's a single knockout essentially. You have 3 games here to book your ticket. Only 2 teams play on. There's no playoff to get into the final. It's your best record after three games. So Thunder Bay, they have some talent. They got Mitch Vanderway, who's back. He had a heck of a year this year, 53 points. Looking forward to seeing how he can elevate this team this year. He's going to be hungry after last year. They got the 1 win at the end of the tournament last year against the Winnipeg Wild, and they're hoping to turn out a better tournament as well this year.
And they got the same coaching staff back. Like they're a fun team. Like I know that they were so happy that they won that last game in a shootout against Winnipeg in Warman last year. And a lot of their players are back. You mentioned Mitch Vanderway, 53 points this year. Matthew Lysak, he has 42 points. Peter Forrester has 34 points. Lucas Bailey, a D-man, 35 points. A lot of assists for him this season. And you know what? Didn't have the season that they probably wanted in the GTHL. Finishing 4-25 and 7 because they do ties there in that GTHL. And then, you know what? For them, beating their arch rival in Northwestern Ontario. So for those that don't know, Thunder Bay and Kenora play the Hockey Northwestern Ontario playdowns prior to this tournament to see who represents Northwestern Ontario. It's always between Thunder Bay and Kenora because they're the only 2 U18 AAA teams. And they were able to beat the Thistles 11-3 in their first game and then beat them in overtime 3-2 in game 2. So they're coming off 2 wins to get into this tournament. And I think that they're probably going to hope that some of that carries over into Winnipeg here tonight.
Yeah, it's tough to look at these teams that come from such different leagues. So, drawing up a comparison on this pregame show, a little tough. I'm looking forward to seeing how these game ones go. Get a better feel for these teams on the same ice, the same time frame. Hopefully these teams can come in healthy and put on a good show. But day 1, lots to happen here.
Yes, and you know what? We could see some upsets. We could see some high-scoring games. You know what? There's a lot to see because you got to remember, everyone, these kids are 15, 16, and 17-year-old kids. Some of them never played in a stage this big. There's going to be scouts here. There's going to be maybe some universities. There's going to be some SJ teams. There's going to be some, dub teams here. There's going to, it's going to be a packed ring, and a lot of eyes are going to be on these kids. So the big thing is, how are these kids going to respond? This is a lot of pressure for them. Yeah. And we just got to remember that they're young. They'll make mistakes. It's just how they come back from them.
Exactly. And, it all gets started today on Flow Sports. We'll be behind the mic tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday for Championship Sunday. And we'll be bringing you pregame and post-day shows every day this week, interviews after each game on all our social media platforms. And again, the games are on Flow Sports, not on our social media pages.
Yes, we appreciate everybody for tuning in. This is our pre-day show on day 1 here at the West Regional Tournament in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Saskatoon, Brandon, Thunder Bay, and Winnipeg are going to fight to book their ticket to represent the West at the 2024 TELUS Cup in Nova Scotia later this month.
We'll see you guys after both games for the Double J Sports post-day show here on day 1.